Hey, what's going on everybody, and welcome back to the Whiskey Cove. And on today's episode, I am very excited. They finally made it to Colorado. That is 13th Colony, small batch, and cask strength. Run the video. All right then, welcome back to the Whiskey Cove. Greetings and salutations. So as you can see, and as I mentioned in the intro, very excited with that we were able to get these bourbons. They just dropped in Colorado. There's the small batch and that is the cask strength bourbons. They also had the rye, but I didn't want to pick that up. I just wanted to focus on the bourbons for the time being. With that being said, today's video is proudly sponsored by ZBiotics. So ZBiotics are 7-8 months sponsor of the Whiskey Cove. And why we love to partner with those fantastic people over there is that they come up with a genius idea to be able to enjoy the day after drinking. So ZBiotics is the first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to help you feel better the morning after drinking. Here's how it works. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. It's this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for your rough next day. ZBiotics produces an enzyme to break this byproduct down. Just remember to make ZBiotics the first drink of the night, drink responsibly, and you'll feel your best tomorrow. So I've had the ability to try a bunch of this stuff while doing some of these sponsorship videos. And when I like to do my videos, I like to film on Thursdays and Saturdays, I try to make ZBiotics the first drink of my night. So I make sure the next day I'm ready to go to the gym. I'm on a big weight loss kick right now. I'm continuing with that and continuing to take control of my health. And ZBiotics has been really great at helping me manage my videos here in the Whiskey Cove, and then the next day spending time with my kids or going to the gym. So if you'd like to get some ZBiotics, you can go over to ZBiotics/Whiskey Cove. I also have a very special link down below, and enter the code Whiskey Cove for 10% off your first order, and that also works on this subscriptions there as well. Go over to ZBiotics.com/Whiskey Cove, use the link down below in the description, and then enter the code Whiskey Cove to get 10% off. Thank you to ZBiotics for making this video happen, because without them, we wouldn't be reviewing these bottles here today. So thank you for those folks who were able to make this happen by sponsoring the video. Alrighty then, let's return to our scheduled programming. So what we will do is we will review the small batch first, and then we'll kind of go up a little bit in pace of the barrel proof here. So we'll kind of step that to one side out of the way there. And as you can see, these have really interesting kind of funky bottles here. They almost look like birthday bourbon, you know, Old Forester birthday bourbon bottles, which hopefully is a good omen, because that juice is actually very good. I haven't actually tried Old Forester birthday bourbon. As you can see, these bottles have been opened because I just wanted to kind of air them out a little bit. I'm thinking about not doing neck pauses straight off the bat and open them on set. I want to try to maybe open them a couple of days before. So let's get this whiskey in the glass here as we go through a couple more details. There's a mighty fine pour there. So 13th Colony is from Georgia. They do source their whiskey, that they say, distilled in Indiana, aged and bottled by 13th Colony distilleries. So then they kind of like Smoke Wagon in a way of what they do. They buy the barrels and then they kind of age them a little bit longer in the kind of the weathering of the Nevada desert, but in Georgia. So Georgia's a lot more humid than Nevada, so I'm expecting maybe more sweetness and maybe a more bourbon character to kind of soak up from the wood there. So this is the small Southern Straight Bourbon Whiskey small batch. This is going to be 47.5% ABV or 95 proof. The label is nice gold and black, no frills. It has their own little emblem with some stars. The label goes on to say the 13th Colony Southern Bourbon is a well-rounded, multiple double gold award-winning straight bourbon with hints of sweet corn cobs, leather, cherry caramel, and tobacco. This bourbon delights the palate. Easily enjoyed as an everyday sip, this bourbon is bound for your collection. We shall see about that. I am excited though. So in the glass, this one is more leaning to ambers and golden colors. It's not dark as you kind of expected there. To say an age, and I want to say it's aged at least 4 years. So I looked online and I saw that it was they're all aged at least 4 years. However, the master blend goes on to say that it's usually 5 to 6 years because he picks them wherever they feel right, but it's aged at least 4 years. Nice little bit of lacing in the glass there, just sticking. Like I said, it looks a little oily, not too overly though, but more golden, maybe a little bit of straw there as well. Let's go in for a nose. Definitely a really nice butterscotch vanilla sweetness off the bat there. This is the first innings, if you like. Has a little bit of heat there, not much. I do kind of get that corn note there. For me, it's more of like a caramel popcorn note. Or maybe like a nice sweet cornbread. Maybe a touch of like spice hiding under there a little bit, like a little bit of rice spice hiding there. Really approachable though. I get that leather. I know it read on the label, but I definitely get that kind of fresh leather. I get a nice fresh leather belt, real leather, and give it a nice sniff. It kind of has that note there, that kind of really fresh, almost zinging little bit of leather. All in all, quite a decent nose, a little bit of complexity, nice little sweetness, some other components there as well. Not getting a whole lot of wood. Maybe with the leather, you can maybe lean more into like a cedar wood, because the two I feel like come together and have similar notes. Maybe a touch of like a spearmint there as well. Let's go in for a taste. 13th Colony, straight Southern Bourbon whiskey. Wow, I wasn't really expecting that. I had a really nice like burnt sugar sweetness there, but then after that I kind of fell away straight away, and I had a lot of spice that kind of came through. Kind of reminds me a little bit of like an old granddad spice there. Quite heavy on the cinnamon, quite heavy on the like rye spice and kind of peppers there as well. Really caught me off guard a little bit. Does a good job of coating the mouthfeel. It's not too oily on the palate so far. You're getting more of that leather. Let's have another taste and see what else that we can pick up. Maybe more honey notes there, as it's kind of sitting on the palate. Touch of clove hiding in the back end there. And I'm thinking maybe some orange citrus as well. So orange citrus, like orange honeysuckle type notes going on there. Nice sweetness, and then that kind of spice cuts through it a little bit. You do taste the ABV on this. I know with some whiskey that is around like the 50% ABV. If it has a nice little bit of sweetness, you kind of tend to maybe not taste the ABV too much, but you know you're drinking a 47.5% ABV whiskey. I respect that. I wasn't expecting anything different, but not as sweet maybe as I was initially thinking on this guy. That maybe is due to some of that spice notes. The finish is quite long, but because you're not really getting too much wood, it's mainly about the sweet and the spicy notes. It doesn't go on for ages there. So I would say short to medium finish on this. Overall, quite a pleasant experience here. Some notes keep on tasting, like you keep tasting that leather note there as well. Maybe more of that like kettle corn, caramel popcorn note. But for the money, I think I paid about $50 for this, which isn't terrible as a mass-produced micro distillery. Yes, it's sourced, but they still age it and blend it themselves. So, and this isn't an easy bottle to transport and to buy. This is probably twice as expensive as a normal bottle. They also have a synthetic cork. That is what it is. So value for money, we do A through F, and then score of 100 to 0 to 100. So value for money, $50. I think this is a B. Like I said, for the aforementioned facts about the distillery and sourcing and all that jazz, I think around $50 is probably about a B. I like it. I think, is it going to be my daily? No, it's too expensive to be a daily. Maybe like a Friday night pour. A good bottle to take over to someone's house who doesn't maybe drink too much whiskey, because it looks quite cool. It has a really interesting story. It's from Georgia. You don't really hear much whiskey coming out of Georgia, or at least I don't anyway, but maybe I'm living under a rock, I guess. So then score out of 100, and this is a big one. So we do a scale of 0 to 100. 0 is something that you can't drink, 100 being the best whiskey you've ever had, 50 being average. I would give this a 55. I think this is a little better than average, but doesn't veer off too much from being great, you know? It is what it is. It's great price. It's good whiskey. You're not going to be disappointed. You're not going to be wowed unless this really hits you in certain areas of how you like your whiskey. Just really a solid addition. So that was 13th Colony, their small or southern batch bourbon. So let's go into the cask strength bourbon. All right then. So this is the cask strength version, and as I can. That's a good call, pop right there. As I can always see, this is so much more darker than the other one. As you come to expect from something that's cask strength, it's not as diluted with water. It's not necessarily aged for longer. In fact, they're probably aged around about roughly the same amount of time, because most of these blenders, distillers and whatnot, don't generally drink the whiskey too much at cask strength. I'm sure they try it, but you know, when they're drinking every day and when they're tasting, they usually will dilute it down to like 35% ABV, because that's where they feel like they can pick up a lot of the flavors. And if you've ever gone to a whiskey tasting class, they can give you that information, or they say a lot about this. So this cask strength edition is batch 2024, bottle number 1994. ABV is 60.32% ABV, or 120.64 proof. So you're getting up there in ABV. I think anything above 60% ABV is a solid cask strength product. Yes, you get some stuff from like Maker's Mark and Michter's that are cask strength, if you like, or barrel proof, and they don't hit 60. That's neither here or there. You know, that's their barrel proof, and this is their barrel proof. So the 13th Colony cask strength. In the glass, it looks darker, as I already said. This is leaning more to the mahoganies there, like the dark brown ales, if you like. It does look a little bit more oily, almost like someone's slapped like a film of oil on the top. It's not quite kind of breaking that kind of symmetry as it's kind of been rolled around in the glass there, which is normally a pretty solid sign, if I don't say so myself. The bottle itself is very similar to the other one, apart from they have some deeper gold notes here, but they seem to have stuck with kind of like the black fonting over the front here. This label goes on to say the 13th Colony cask strength bourbon is our flagship straight bourbon whiskey, but bottled at full barrel strength, uncut for maximum flavor. Each release of our cask strength bourbon is its own unique batch with a distinct proof point, and it's limited in quantity. This costs $100 here in Colorado. It's a little pricey. What would you compare that with? You know, Stag Juniors are 70, super allocated though. Old Forester 1920s, not maybe of true cask strength. The same with Wild Turkey bottled in bonds, maybe not quite like true cask strength. Yeah, it's not too much more than that, if I'm completely honest. Just thinking off the top of my head, maybe 1792 full proof is cheaper. Jack Daniels is not technically a bourbon. Smoke Wagon will probably be a fair comparison, the uncut and unfiltered. That probably sits at closer to $80. But I think that because this is kind of just starting out, having it sit at $100 isn't crazy in my opinion, because it's an allocated product, I feel like, because the distribution is just not there yet. So let's go in for a nose here. Much richer on the nose, so much decadent sweetness there. Maybe some chocolate notes there as well, like a big old dark chocolate bar there. You crack it off and give that nose, and it's just like pure cacao. Definitely getting some of that in here. Some coffee there as well, so like a mocha vibe going on here, with like a nice little bit of like cream on top there, and some caramel sauce drizzled on top. Definitely has that sweetness element attached here. Like I said, very rich, very decadent there as well. You get a little heat on the nose here as you're nosing it. Like I said, it is a cask strength 60% ABV. All in all, I think a really great addition so far on the nose. Let's go in for a taste. This is the 13th Colony cask strength bourbon. Much like the small batch, actually. I tasted it. You get that sweetness that kind of rolls back in as well. Some of that kind of coffee chocolate note, but you're getting that zing of spice there as well on the palate. It's a real like zap on the palate, that like a spicy pepper type note, and like the rye spice and the cinnamon all kind of comes together there. But the sweetness does help you the sweetness holds your hand through it, and you kind of wade through it together. You rely on each other, and you kind of progress through the whiskey with it. Right, let's go into another taste to see if we can pick that apart a little bit more, because it is coming through as quite a complex whiskey here. Let's go again. I'm definitely getting much more oak on this one, as expected. Maybe more like a piney, walnutty type oak there. It kind of has maybe some like menthol, a little bit of like eucalyptus almost hiding there somewhere. I'm wondering if that's coming from the rye that's in here. Maybe more barrel char notes there as well. Think like graham cracker vibes going on here. With a little bit of like a savory cracker, the marshmallow, and of course that chocolate that we touched upon earlier on. With the spice, with that wood, and with the sweetness, you are getting more of like a longer finish here. And for $100, you should expect that, you know. This is a $100 bottle of whiskey. It's a lot of money for a lot of people, and not something that you can go and just throw money at every so often. I'm fortunate that ZBartics were able to sponsor today's video, so thank you to those folks for making this happen. All in all, value for money for $100. I'm also going to give this a B. Not standing on the fence here with this. I just think that it's good for what it is. It's super unique right now, at least. Maybe that might change in the future if it's sitting on shelves everywhere. I just feel right now that the whiskey, what they're doing with it, they're blending it, they're picking barrels at certain times. Maybe I could see wanting it to be a little bit more older. I would say a little bit of youthfulness is coming through here. Maybe that's just because it could just be this batch was a little bit more youthful than batches gone by. Like, we know it's at least 4 years old, so maybe they lent a little bit more towards 4 years on this specific one. So B is going to be value for money. Score of 100, I am going to give this a 72. I definitely think it was better than the small batch. I think it had a lot more going for it. I think it had like the three-headed horseman, if you like, with the spice, the sweetness and the wood that carried the whiskey through. I felt like it had some unrounded edges a little bit with some of that youthfulness coming through. It was a little bit spiky, a little bit ethanol-y that kind of combined with the spice there, but had enough sweetness that it was able to carry through a little bit. I would love to see what their double oaked one's like, because they also have a double oaked version of this. So that would be super interesting to see if they're able to round out any of those notes. So B for value for money, and then the score, whatever I said, because I forgot what it is now, but it's on the screen there. So as we say on this channel, as we drink through the world's whiskies, one glass at a time. Thank you for watching. I appreciate it. Cheers.